Welcome to today's City Council meeting in the City of Ceres, Monday, June 12th, 2023. I now call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
District 1, Councilmember Casey.
Present.
District 2, Councilmember Vieira.
Present.
District 4, Councilmember Martinez.
Present.
District 3, Vice Mayor Silvera.
Here.
Mayor Lopez.
Here. Thank you very much. We will have invocation by Jim Hanna from the Ceres Grace Community Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So everybody, please stand.
God, we thank you for this beautiful day, and we thank you for this great country, great city that we live in. God, as we observe this week of celebrating our flag, we thank you for those that are serving to defend our freedom, men and women, both home and abroad, who are serving in our military. I pray for our mayor and city council members and each city worker, God, that you give them health and strength. Father, I pray for each law enforcement official and firefighter and first responder, that you keep them safe as they do their work. Thank you for the mental health workers in our community. Be just some very difficult and challenging situations. God, as we look forward to this Sunday, Father's Day, I just thank you for all the fathers that are working hard to provide for their families. I pray for wisdom and direction for every decision that needs to be made tonight. Again, I thank you for each person that serves our community. In your name, we give thanks.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Thank you very much. We will now begin with a presentation for Public Works Week proclamation. Declaring May 21st through the 27th of 2023 as National Public Works Week. Public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and service that are vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life and well-being of the people of the city of Ceres. Whereas these infrastructure facilities and services could not be provided without the dedication efforts of public works professionals, or engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essentials for our citizens. And whereas it is the public's interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Ceres to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public work programs in the representative communities. And whereas this year, 2023, marks the 63rd Annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association, be it now, as whereas public servants include teachers, doctors, scientists, train conductors, astronauts, nurses, safety inspectors, laborers, computer technicians, social workers, and countless and other occupations. Day in and day out, they provide the diverse services demanded by the American people of their government with efficiency and integrity. And whereas without these public servants at every level, continuing would be impossible in a democracy that regularly changes its leaders and elected officials. Now, therefore, I, Javier Lopez, the mayor of the city of Ceres, on behalf of the city council, Vice Mayor Brett Silvera, Council Member James Casey, Rosalinda L. Vieira, and Daniel A. Martinez, do hereby designate this week, May 21st through the 27th, 2023, as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies and activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contribution that they have made to protecting our national's health, safety, and quality of life. Congratulations. Think so?
Thank you, Mayor, on your presentation. On behalf of public, city staff, I would accept this proclamation. I just have a couple of words I'd like to say. The public works is a combination of physical assets, management practices, policies, and personnel necessary for government to provide services essential to the welfare and acceptable quality of life for citizens. City of Ceres Public Works Department consists of 6 different divisions, a total of 53 staff members who works each and every day to provide services to its residents. The services consist of water distribution and treatment, operating and maintaining 13 well sites, serving City of Ceres and providing water quality that is guided by the state government, and also the requirements to make sure that the water is acceptable and by the state regulations. Wastewater collection, maintain and maintaining plant operation, servicing over 14 sewer lift stations and over 133 miles of sewer pipelines throughout the city. The street maintenance, maintain and servicing 39 traffic signals at various city intersections, including over 2,200 street lights citywide, maintain street signage, enhance pavement striping, and patch potholes throughout the city. Park maintenance, maintaining 17 city parks, including park structures and playground equipment, so our city residents can enjoy the outdoor activities. Facility maintenance, maintain all city buildings, providing custodial services, making sure all the facilities are clean and all mechanical and electrical equipment are functioning properly. Lastly, it's a fleet service operations, making sure all city vehicles, including small and large equipments, are serviced daily and as needed, and avoid any downtime. Lastly, I just wanted to thank the water public works staff, and they do provide 24-hour operations, 365 days, rain or shine. We're here to assist. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to citizens' communications. While the city council welcomes and encourages participation in the city council meetings, adopted rules allow no more than 5 minutes. Resolution 2007-106 for expressions of a non-agenda item. Matters under the jurisdiction of the city council and not posted on the agenda may be addressed by the general public. However, California law prohibits the city council from taking any action on any matters which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the city council. Citizens are entitled to address the city council on any agenda item subject to the 5-minute provision. Anyone wishing to address the city council must adhere to the rules of decorum. The rules of decorum are posted outside the chamber's doors. We will begin with in-person comments, and we do have one yellow sheet by Shane Parsons. Welcome.
Good evening, council. Employees of the city. So I have a couple little issues I'd like to go over. Just today, as I'm driving around this evening, I see street vendors everywhere. I hope that I'm not discriminated against because I'm a tax-paying citizen of how hard it is to get any business done here. Just tonight, there's a pop-up tent selling tacos at Roding and Mitchell. There's a minivan selling tamales on the corner of Central and Service. There's 2 bicycles selling snow cones in front of Punjab Plaza. I feel like that I'm the low-hanging fruit. So I'm discriminated against. Nobody else has to get a license, put a food truck, sell food, do what you'd like to do, and there's no ramifications. So my question to you as the council is, do we need a permit for anything? Or can we just do what we want to do and never get in trouble for it? That's one issue I have right now, because I've been working on a food truck situation, which we're turning our paperwork in tomorrow, we hope. But I mean, this is just going on and on and on, months and months and months it took me to get this through. Secondly, I will do my last project in series if I have to deal with the building inspector that works for this community. He's terrible. I've seen him make people cry. I've seen ladies cry that are trying to build here. And that's ridiculous that anybody should treat other people that way. So I have one more project to do and I'm done unless there's some changes, both on, I don't have a problem with these people selling stuff, and leave me alone too. Anyway, that's my
And
statement to the
I'll be
council.
able to answer your first question. That's usually a code enforcement issue when it comes to vendors.
Yes,
And I
sir.
believe that we are actively making contact with vendors and trying to get them in compliance. And to your second question, which is also very prudent to myself, the person that you're referring to is actually a county employee, correct?
Correct.
I do also have an issue with that gentleman as well. It might be something we can look into. I don't want to do this in open forum, but I think we can talk to city manager.
Absolutely not. I wanted to bring it to your attention.
No, I appreciate
But
that.
secondly, I mean, I don't have a problem if we're gonna let street vendors, then open the doors, let them roll. But why should we be put down because we go through the permitting process?
No, it shouldn't be. that
And
way at all.
it's the same ones. They're there every day. They've been there for at least a year. So addressing it, and I know code enforcement's trying, but I don't know if there's any teeth to deal with these people. What do you do?
And Shane, if you have any other things that you need to work on, reach out to the city manager and let's make
Yeah,
sure that,
those are, two
Yeah.
things. I mean, I just see it every day.
oh yeah.
They're selling fruit right here at Wells Fargo. They're selling fruit at Home Depot. Personally, I don't have a problem. Then we can all play by the same rules, right?
Right. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate your time. Appreciate it. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
My name is Marie Joyner. I'd like to address the city council regarding my property across the way right there at 23-7 Magnolia Street. My property is surrounded by a junkyard. To the left on Magnolia, directly to the left of my property and behind my property is an industrial park. On 3rd Street, there is a big box truck in the driveway, and across the street from them, there are several semi-tractor trailers in their backyard, along with a broken down van in their front yard. This is a commercial and residential and not an industrial park or a junkyard. Their properties bring down the area personally is affecting my property value. They have taken pride in my property over the years of updating and making it the best looking house in the downtown Ceres area. All 3 of these properties are rentals. I have gone to several of the homeowners and to ask them to clean up their properties or to purchase their properties from them. With no luck, I am now turning to the city of Ceres. I'm looking forward to hearing from the code enforcement, which I have spoke with a couple of them. Not sure if they've done anything about it yet, because I haven't heard back whether they have. I would also like to mention the properties across the street, right across the street, and it's 3 properties. I have all the addresses, pulled up all of the tax records on each one of these properties I'm talking about. These 3 properties are also bringing down property values, and their front yards are, to me, as fire hazard. I am now turning to the city, see what we can do about this. I'm also sending a letter to the city's courier, which I've already talked to Jeff Singer, and he's came out and looked at my property and we walked the neighborhood. Please reflect downtown the city's These properties reflect the area of cities. Our city should shine and we should be taking pride in our city, especially the downtown area. Our city could be a little boutique city with restaurants, wine tasting, small clothing boutiques, small quaint coffee shops, which Shane's been trying to put together for quite some time. The bank could be an upscale steakhouse called The Vault. I used to own a restaurant and I could do a lot with that building, but of course we have Delhart, which is not addressing any of his properties. So it could also be a downtown brewery. That would bring up some more people. You build it, they will come. There are too many churches on 4th Street. Delhart's buildings are run down and they bring down the downtown area. Aztec restaurant, they have good food, but they're back of their building, like South Modesto and Crow's Landing area. I'm sorry to say, but it does. I took some pictures of that as well. Mitchell Road, something that's just popped up recently. Mitchell Road and Road, there are pop-up vendors every night. This is the gateway to our city. I am not sure if they have permits to be there, but it doesn't look good on our city. It is right across the street from our new Starbucks, In-N-Out, Walmart, and our new Series Gateway. I would also like to see, this is something that I've thought about for many years. Nancy and Gary Pope used to own the Whitmore Mansion. I'm not sure what the city's doing with that, but I'd like to purchase that. I'd like to see if any of you, city council or the city, would address that as well. I'd like to thank you guys for your opportunity to listen to me, and hopefully there'll be something done about these junk properties that are around the city. That being said, thank you very much for your time.
If you could possibly give your contact information to the city clerk, and we'll have somebody reach out to you.
There's been several letters. One was sent to Tamara. I sent some to the mayor and the vice mayor, the code enforcement, and then Jeff Fessing. If they all have my contact.
Well, I would like for you to give her your contact information today, so I can give it to the city manager and we can go from there.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else that would like to come up and speak?
Guys, my name is Rob Conway. Hey, what I'm wondering, first of all, before we can even go any further, that City of Ceres is the one that operates the water treatment plant, if I'm correct.
The one on Service Road?
Yes.
That's correct.
I have been in that area for years. I'm still farming a small piece there next to Central Valley High School on the west side. I am having a problem with the geese.
With the geese?
The last 2 years, I have not farmed it because we've transferred that water to, other ranches because of the drought situation. But now that we are back into farming it, 2 years ago, when I farmed the Black Ice Center last, the geese came over and cleaned out the back 4 acres. I mean, just flat wiped it out. And I figured I lost $2,000 right there in that situation. You're having a problem with them coming over and they're just staying there, but with their feces and all this stuff too, it does affect we have. And it's not something that I see as even a clean situation for the water treatment plant. I know that I'm kind of familiar with it some because for years, my dad and I were the ones who did all the weed spraying there, or they took it over to do it themselves. I am just looking to see if we can find some answers to either basically to get rid of them and get them out of there. I have a problem with our Zong gun because we can't put it in there because they are so used to the shooting from the range there. So it doesn't even affect them. And right now, the farming for me is that's my livelihood. Now I know it is a small piece, but it still all affects my pocket. And if we can't do something about them, I don't know, I'm at a wit's end right now. I just wanted to address you guys and let you know that this is the situation over there that's not getting any better by any means. And I do see them flying over the school at times when the kids are there. So, I know that they don't fly and wait to go home and go to the toilet. So anyway, this is just something I wanted to bring up. I don't know if there's something we can try to do, but my personal feeling and a couple other government agencies that I've actually talked to are very concerned about that part of it, and actually they agree with me that they need to go. So, that's about all I've got to say about this. I'm just, like I said, this is my livelihood. Part of me has got some history there too, because the orchard just to the south of that school where I started at 13 years old with my very first job. So, but anyway, on that end of it, that's looking to see if we can find out.
Thank you. We may not have an answer for you today, but if
Oh,
you can
that's fine.
please go ahead and give our city clerk some contact information and we'll reach out to you. Thank you.
That is.
We have it, I guess. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come up and speak?
Good evening, Council. John Warren, City of Ceres. Just to kind of fill in a little bit with what Shane was saying up here in regards to street vendors. Yesterday on Sunday, I was coming back from Houston. We went out for breakfast. So we weren't out real early. At the intersection of Hatch, Mitchell Road, there in front of the A&W, on the sidewalk was a flower vendor with his stand set up and his umbrella. And 4 hours later, he was still there after I had called and reported to the police department dispatcher. On the weekend, code enforcement doesn't look at the My Series app. And lately their response to things that have been on the app haven't been that quick. When these vendors are there, it doesn't do any good to go there tomorrow. Later on in the day, out in front of Bank of America with his tent and awning was the snow cone guy. And then down at the Walmart shopping center, there was another one. So this is something that's continuing in the city, and it continue to raise its ugly head. Just driving around, if you are a code enforcement person and you drive down Mitchell and you drive down Service and you drive down Hatch, that's just on this side of the town in the main corridor area. You can spot 4 or 5 of them, and they're there continually. I do know they change personnel, but who cares? When someone shows up there, write them a citation and confiscate their equipment. I know the city doesn't want to do that, but it's going to come to the point where if you don't take away what doesn't belong to them, and when you do a little interrogation and talk to those people, they're going to tell you, that's not my snow cone thing. My boss dropped it off here. Well, confiscate it and tell the boss he can have it back when he comes down to the police department and picks it up and cite him for being a vendor in the city, because he's the employer, as the employee. A different approach needs to take place. On another note, this being Flag Week, June the 14th is Flag Day. And the Stanislaus County Recovery Resources Building over off of Richland Avenue, the old Memorial Hospital, has a new flag staff out front. And on the 15th of June, the day after Flag Day, the first flag will be raised on that staff. And there will be a ceremony there. American Legion VFW commanders are going to raise the first flag on that staff. So it's a little ceremony that will start at 0800 hours. Generally when flags are raised, try to do it in a respectful way at the beginning. That flag on that staff will be 24 hours, as there's going to be a light shining on it. The California flag and the POW MIA flag will also fly on that staff. So if you're available Thursday morning at 0800, you're welcome to come and enjoy the brief ceremony and raising that flag on the staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Is there anybody else?
Uniquely serious. First, I'd like to address the city council on something that was in the paper a couple of weeks ago. Yes, there was a trip to Las Vegas. Seemed like it was pretty costly. Evidently, there's funding for that. But in the past, I've been at a lot of city council meetings like these gentlemen here. And usually there was one person went to these kind of things to draw in businesses, hopefully in series. I don't know if this was Chris Holmes' department or not, and maybe one other person. But I'd like to know if the accusations, if they are truth in the series Courier, if the city council is going to address those things and let the citizens know if they were really supposed to be taken up with for the people that went. Only a certain amount was stated in there that certain people should go. And these people behind us, I'll Shane briefly, we're not the best of friends or nothing, but I know him. This lady that came tonight, wow, if we could just fill this whole place every 2 weeks with people like them, a lot of things might get heard over and over again and finally taken care of. So a lot of people are just enchanted with things and they're disappointed when they don't get a speedy response. And along with that, I read something today that I wanted to address to the citizens of Ceres. And this has to do with Jane and that lady back there that had some issues tonight. And that's the issue of being an advocate for themselves and for other people in the city that don't want to join in. And this goes back into history of the United States when we first came about, people got together and worked together to make changes and stuff. And the issue was, what is grassroots advocacy? This is grassroots advocacy is the basic source of support from the ground up. Of course, we go back into history, and when we were doing the Constitution and everything, it was the ground up. Engaging the public to advocate, organize and mobilize for themselves. This is a huge value in this because it is people driven. People behind me and people who came here before to try to get something taken care of. This is a huge value in this because it is people driven. When you join in a collective voice in support of opposition to an issue, we can be a powerful and effective force in changing public policies, whether at the local level, the federal level, or the state level. And if anybody's listening, please do like some of these other good citizens do. They come. I know it's difficult. They got families, and I've said this over and over again. They got families and things to do. If they can't, they'll know somebody. Try to get somebody to take their place if they can. Get involved in what's going on in the city that you live in. There's so many people that think those 5 people up there are going to make the decisions for you. That's not true. They try to, but a lot of times it might be something they like, not you. Who knows? Anyway, I hope people take in mind to join in and help things grow a little bit better. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Seeing none, is there any hands raised on Zoom?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Is there any emails?
No emails received.
Looking around, just double checking. Okay. Citizens communication is now closed. Moving on to appointments to boards and commissions. Item B, appointment to the Ceres Youth Baseball Board meeting for calendar year 2023. City Clerk, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is coming before the council as a result of Councilmember Martinez referral at the April 24th council meeting and his suggestion to appoint a member to the Ceres Youth Baseball Board meetings. So staff is recommending to council to appoint the city manager and his or her designee to attend these meetings on behalf of the city.
Okay, and that is your report? Okay. Take this to the public for any comments. Seeing none. Any hands raised? Bring it back to the board for motion and or discussion.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Do we have a designated person who is is it city manager? Is that the designated person?
So it would be the city, we say it's the city manager or his or her designee. It will likely be recreation supervisor, or I'm sorry, recreation manager, Joey Chavez attending. But in the event that he is not available, we can send somebody else.
Thank you very much. With the motion on the floor, can I get a roll call?
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
Moving on to number C, appointment to the Tuolumne River Regional Park Citizens Advisory Committee. Always yours as well. You have the floor.
Yes, so city staff received an application from Mr. Alvaro Zuniga Franco to join the Turlock River Regional Park Citizens Advisory Committee. His term, if he is appointed, would end December 31st. The Citizen Advisory Committee does serve as an advisory body on the acquisition, development, maintenance, and operation of the Turlock River Regional Park. Members serve a 4-year term, and they are appointed by their legislative bodies. The city of Ceres has 2 seats on this Citizen Advisory Committee, one of which is currently filled, and that term expires December 31st, 2025. And again, the second term would end December 31st, 2027. So at this time, it's up to council to decide if they'd like to appoint Mr. Franco to the Tuolumne River Regional Park Citizens Advisory Committee. And if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that Mr. Franco is in the audience.
Okay. I do see Daniel Martinez has pushed his button, but before we move on, let's go out to the public real quick before we have a discussion. Is there anybody in the public, including Mr. Franco, that would like to make a comment? You're not going to make a comment? Anybody on Zoom?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, bring this back to the council, and I believe Martinez has his button pressed, and there you go, sir. Go ahead.
City Clerk, how do we advertise for the applications for the opening for that position? 'Cause I believe myself and the mayor are on there. I never saw anything on any social media. I never saw anything in the Courier. So I don't know how we communicated to the citizens of the city that there was an opening or position to apply to.
Unlike the Measure H or Planning Commission, the city does not do the advertisement for the recruitment. It's an ongoing recruitment, and the city of Modesto lists it on their website as open vacancies. I will say the last time that the second seat was filled was, I believe, back in 2017. So we haven't had anyone fill the second seat on this advisory committee for quite some time.
Just so I understood that right. The applications on the city of Modesto's website, not through our own?
Correct, on the city of Modesto's website.
Okay.
And so if they do decide to apply, they go to a city of Modesto employee who then forwards it to the clerk's office with Ceres.
Any additional comments? Oh, Rosalinda, I'm sorry.
I thought you saw me press the button.
Go
I
ahead.
guess, and maybe, and this is for a referral part, but kind of tagging along with Councilmember Martinez. Is there a way when there's something that affects our city, especially our area, that maybe we can be aware so we can ask within our districts and within our city? Because I didn't know to look on that website as well to make referrals. The college is very involved, do a lot of volunteering there. And I know there's a lot of people that I come in daily contact with, not that Franco isn't well qualified, and I know he's very involved, and I definitely would highly recommend him because of his involvement and his recommendations. But in the event, if there's 2, I would definitely would want someone that's just as qualified and involved as he is.
Sure. I don't see there being any problem with the city, putting out on social media or what have you on this vacancy if it comes open again or when it comes open again.
I do see Mr. Martinez press his button again, sir.
Is that something that we could do at this point? Should we decide not to appoint Mr. Franco? Is open it back up to the public, share it on social media, maybe put it on our website, or at least a hyperlink from Ceres to Modesto to apply for that?
That would be at the discretion of the council.
That would require a motion if that is the case, sir.
Make a motion that we postpone appointment until we have it on our city website and have more citizens in the city have an opportunity to apply for it.
Second.
Get a roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
No.
Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Thank you very much for applying to the position. Looks like we're going to put it out to the public again. Thank you. Okay, now we're moving on to conflicts of interest. Is there anyone on the council that would like to declare a conflict
May-
of interest?
I'm
Yes.
sorry, may I please go back?
Sure.
One, will we still consider Mr. Franco's application?
He shouldn't
closed?
apply again. It should be unless there's
Right,
any
okay.
criteria that requires us to do
And-
so.
Is there any type of time frame in which you're wanting this advertisement kept open?
Any suggestions?
I mean, it stays open
Yeah,
regardless, so
Was a month a reasonable timeframe? Enough time for somebody to create the hyperlink, link it to Siri or Modesto,
Yeah.
and then advertise on all of our city's social medias? Is a month?
Is there any possible way we can actually ask the city of Modesto to participate in that, or should that responsibility be on us to advertise?
I can work with the contact with City of Modesto and collaborate with them on logistics.
City attorney, do we have to remotion that to add the month or?
I think we just need a consensus on that. My only other thought is if there are applications filling interview panel, similar to what we've done for other openings on other commissions. So that might be something to consider. If we're pushing it out of month, maybe we can make that, the council can make that decision once we get closer to that, but it's just something to keep in mind.
Rosalinda, she had her button pushed out just by listening.
Yeah, I think that was my concern, that the advertisement be consistent with our other open policies and vacancies. And then also, I guess, since you said it's only good until the end of the year, and if we're tabling it, we want to consider recruitment for the full 4-year position that you said it's customary for. You said the other one's been filled since 2017. I mean, you said it's usually a 4-year term, but this one was only through the end of the year. So that's why I was just wanting to confirm.
This one's actually
Oh,
through
20.
December 31st, 2027. The other seat that's currently filled
25.
expires December 31st, 2025.
You said 27?
So
This
the
one?
seat that Mr. Franco applied for expires 2027.
Okay, thank
December
you.
31st.
I'll move that we had 30 days from today to advertise for this position.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to conflict of interest. Is there anyone on the council that would like to declare a conflict of interest? Seeing none. Moving on to consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by a single motion unless otherwise requested by an individual council member or public for special consideration. Otherwise, the recommendation of staff will be accepted and acted upon by a roll call vote. Is there anyone on the council that would like the consent item pulled for further discussion? James Casey,
Yes, items number 4 and item number 9.
4 and 9. Is there any members of the public that would like an item pulled? Seeing none. Is there anybody on Zoom with their hands raised?
No hands raised on Zoom.
Yeah, bring this back to the council for motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent calendar items 1 through 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 10 through 12.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 4, register of audited demands dated May 3rd, 2023 through May 24th, 2023. Councilmember Casey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, 4 and 9 are the question that tied to each one. Same question. Number 9, we're asking for authorization to an amendment to our budget to provide a contract with Jeremy Damus for Public Work Project Manager and Consultant. And item number 4, we already paid him
almost $7,000. Confusing.
City manager or whom? Would that be a question for Letitia? Or is it Sam? No, I know there's an answer there.
Definitely an answer.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, the council, Mr. James Casey, what happened is, when Public Works, when the superintendent for Public Works departed, we needed someone to be on board as the chief operator for the water. Because of the short time frame, I needed to get someone on board quickly. Without the chief operator for water, we can't run our well sites. So at that point, we reached out to the previous public work director, Jeremy Damas, to help us through that process. We did draft a short-term agreement with Mr. Damas to get him on board. And then we followed up with the long-term agreement, and that's what I'm presenting tonight.
Okay, thank you. So did we go out to it? I mean, did we go out searching for someone besides Jeremy Davis? I mean, I understand the emergency. You had to have somebody, nobody in the city was qualified. You had to call someone. I understand that. But as far as the long-term contract, have you researched other avenues, or you just went to Jeremy and stayed there? Did we advertise, I guess, is the question for the opening?
Yes, we did advertise, Mr. Casey. We only received one notification. The requirement to have the chief operator certification is really tough. To get someone with Jeremy's qualifications on board is hard to find. I mean, we're having issues with the surface water operators, senior operators to join, and it's it's a tough field. And I mean, with Jeremy's rates, I think you can't beat his rate, the rate that he's offering the city. I think to be honest with you, it's a steal. He's really qualified. To get someone with his qualifications from a different agency or a different consultant, we'd be paying a lot more money.
How long is the contract?
The contract is year to year. It depends on once we have someone on staff, we're going to keep Jeremy for at least 1 year to help us with the surface water transition and also with all the state requirements. Once we have a really good candidate that fits in as a superintendent for water, then after that year is over, we no longer would need Jeremy's assistant.
Or is there a provision in the contract that you found somebody tomorrow, are we obligated to pay him for the full year? And is it similar to other contracts where if we find somebody, we have to end up paying him for 7 or 8 months?
Mr. Casey, the water operation process is really strange and tough. To get someone on board, an outside person on board to come into the city, step in and to handle all the operations and to handle all the history of our well sites, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, this requires some time, and there's no way we could have a person that comes in and could deliver what Jeremy is delivering today.
Okay, the last question, I guess, is I'm not familiar. Maybe I don't pay attention to the emails or whatever. Just overnight, we were without somebody. I mean, it just happened last month, and that we called Jeremy and asked him to come in.
Well, we made some arrangements after I found out that the resignation from the superintendent, the water superintendent gave me the resignation, and from that point on, I was, I was trying to search for someone that could come in and help us. I mean, this was a 2-week notice. So I did reach out to the city manager at that time. It was Alex, and he was in agreement, and we got Jeremy on board.
Okay, I appreciate how quickly you were able to solve the problem. My concern goes back to, we have a 1-year contract, and I understand it's hard to find somebody, but we could have somebody knock on your door in 6 months. Do we have that option to hire that new person who's going to be long-term? Or do we have to maintain Jeremy for the full year? Or at the same, part of the same question is, if we find somebody that could fill the spot, are we obligated to pay him for the full year?
Well, I mean, like I said before, Mr. Casey, I mean, that's up to this person who we could find to step in and start dealing with the operation. I mean, this is I mean, Jeremy has a tremendous knowledge. He's been a public work director for 13 years. So he knows all the well sites. He knows exactly what well is operating at what percentage. Especially now with trying to get the surface water on board, trying to accept it in September of this year, and trying to finalize the water reservoir tank that we have, that is being completed. There's a lot of fine tuning. So Jeremy's help is tremendously needed, that I would say. I mean, I don't have the background in water. I mean, my background is engineering. I could design stuff, but when it comes to water treatment and water distribution, it's different.
I understand. My question really simply is this. Somebody knocks on the door tomorrow, is qualified, and in 2 weeks, he grabs hold of everything. Are we obligated to keep Jeremy for the full year? That's my question.
So Councilman Casey, I think what Sam's trying to say in a roundabout way is with the contract that we have, and I know Nubia probably looked at it, and made sure we had the option that we aren't geared, we're not closed in, just like any contract, we can get out if we find somebody cheaper, if we're lucky enough to find somebody cheaper and qualified, we can get out of this current contract and go with a new contract.
Councilmember Casey, also to respond to your inquiry, my understanding is that the arrangement between the contractor or the consultant, because in essence, he is a consultant for the city at this point under this contract, and staff, is that it's a limited duration with the event, with the goal of it not being a permanent one. And there's provisions in the contract for mutual agreement and termination. And there is language in the contract for what happens if it is terminated. Payments have to be made or services rendered. So that's the contemplation of the contract.
I do see that Martinez has pushed the button. I'll just make a brief comment that Jeremy was around during the time where I was here, and Jeremy is the right person for that job. Mr. Martinez.
I believe the vice mayor pushed his before me, I think.
He actually depressed his.
Answer my
So you're, I believe Nubia answered yours as well. Okay, that sounds like a deal. Mr. Casey, is there any follow-up questions, sir? Good. Okay. For 4 and 9, I bring this back to the council for, now before we actually move on, is there anybody in the public that would like to make a comment? I see some papers flying in the air in the back there. Come on up.
Council members, thank you very much. John Warren, City of Ceres. I did make a couple of questions and inquiries when I saw this item on the agenda. And it appears that the contractor only is going to be working for the city a half a year, like 960 hours, not a full-time position. And I would assume the city does need a full-time position to fill those credentials. That would be my thought, if it's really important. And when I read through the staff notes, I didn't see anything in there that indicated that the previous person that held these certificates had resigned. And so that answered some of my questions here. When you have a person that is needed to fill those slots with the certificates that they must hold, it would be important to backfill them as soon as possible. And but I did notice that at $100 an hour, it was a half-time position. So I don't know if it's really important that we have a full-time position, if we can get by with half-time going ahead in the future. Just a thought. So thank you much.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. I want to make sure if there's anybody else in the chambers that would like to make comment, please step up to the podium.
Gene Yeagley series. Councilman Casey, I hear you. All you wanted was a simple answer, yes or no. You didn't get that. You didn't get the answer that you wanted, and I can't understand why. As far as Mr. Thomas, hey, he's the man. Everybody that's been here in the past, he's the man. He knows everything about what he does and he's good at it. There's no problem there. But Mr. Casey had a simple answer. Well, does he get something? If somebody comes in and it's not about, you know, time wise or anything, it was cut and dried. All he wanted to know is yes or no. If that appeared in magic time, that somebody took his place in a short period of time, which probably wouldn't happen anyway. But his question was, yes or no? Do they get something in the contract if somebody else takes his place when he leaves, like a lot of other people, like city managers and other people in the city? That's all he wanted. Thank you, Mr. Casey.
Is there anybody else that'd like to make a comment? Is there anybody on Zoom? Any hands raised?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, now I take this back to the council for any motions.
Make a motion to approve consent items 4 and 9.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
yes.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Moving on to new business, but before we do, there is a correction on item number 13. The background section of the staff report should reference August 8th, 2022, and not August 8th, 2002. New business, resolution number 2023-70, authorizing an agreement with the Ceres Garden Club for use of parcel located at 2732 Fifth Street, Ceres, California, and approving a 90-day extension for the exchange of the real property agreement with Parsons Properties LLC, resolution 2022-104. Sam.
Again, good evening, Mayor Lopez and City Council. I would like to give a little documentary of exactly what happened back in August 2022. The City Council approved a resolution authorizing an agreement for a lateral exchange of residential property owned by the City of Ceres located at 2936 Fifth Street with Parsons Property LLC, who owns a residential building located at 2761 Sixth Street, and for the removal of the residential structure that is housed there currently. Parsons Property LLC has indicated their desire to relocate the residential structure located at 2761 Sixth Street to an alternate location at 2732 Fifth Street, also owned by Parsons Properties LLC. However, this reference property is currently houses the community garden that will need to be relocated before the necessary infrastructure can be developed to establish the residential structure at 2732 Fifth Street. In response, the city has agreed to house the community garden at the separate city-owned vacant parcel located at the southwest corner of 6th and Magnolia Street, which is part of the 2732 Fifth Street Whitmore Mansion property, with the stipulation that Parsons Property LLC will assume the cost for water, utility service indefinitely. So as long as the community garden is in operation at this location, further responsibility will be assumed by the City of Ceres Recreation Division in coordination with the City of Ceres Garden Club to maintain and manage the community garden site activity and preservation. Effectively, the original agreement for the property exchange indicates a 180-day term for exchange clause in which both parties, the City of Ceres and Parsons Property LLC, agreed to deed both properties through escrow, and for Parsons Properties LLC to remove all buildings from 2761 Sixth Street with 180 days after close of escrow, set forth in the terms of the agreement. Due to the extensive preparation proceedings that will need to be enacted prior to the relocation of residential structure, the city finds sufficient cause of leniency with 180-day term limitation set forth in the agreement, further grounded on a good faith effort demonstrated thus far by Parsons Property LLC and by written statement submitted by Shane Parson, owner of Parsons LLC. As such, staff is recommending a 90-day extension to be issued to provide sufficient time for the agreement stipulation to be completed. Now I could take any answer. I know it's a little complicated. We have like 4 different parcels that are in question, so I'll be happy to answer any.
What I would like to do, if possible, take it to the public first. Does anybody from the public like to make a comment or a question? Seeing none. Anybody on Zoom?
No hands raised on Zoom.
Bring this back to council for discussion. Comments or questions from the council? Oh, so Mr. Silver, I see your button has been pushed. Go ahead,
Sure.
sir.
First of all, this is an interesting situation for the city and for Mr. Parsons, and it took a lot of collaboration to get to this point. In the long run, it's going to be a great thing for everybody. We need the property that Mr. Parsons owns for our well extension. The property next to the Whitmore Mansion is a perfect spot for the community garden. That will give Shane his property there, kitty corner from Alfonso's to put that house up. So things don't always happen overnight. And like Sam said, 180 days to make all this happen was probably unrealistic. So I completely support 90 more days at least to make this all work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Silvera. Is there anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay, take this back for a
Move to
motion.
approve resolution 2023-70.
A second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. No discussion items. Moving on to council referrals. Council members request to have an agenda item placed on a future agenda pursuant to Chapter 2, City Council Meetings, J8, City Council Referrals, Determination of Items for Agenda. And today we have 1, 2, 3, 4 council referrals, all by Mr. Casey. So Mr. Casey, I'll go ahead and hand you the floor, sir, starting with item number 14.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, 14, 15, 16 all tie together. We just finished our audit for 2021, 22. And our last budget meeting, was announced, and we're going to get it to look over probably on the 26th. I understand that bringing accountability, I'm not personally criticizing our finance department. I think she does a great job, but we need to, especially in the future, when we don't have this $11 million ARPA money and different things, we really need to be looking at our budget and our finances a lot closer than we have been. So I'm suggesting that the audit for this year that ends the end of this month, that we have it be completed by the end of the year. I understand talking to different people, that's quite an accomplishment. It's something that may be hard to do the first time, but I think it's something that we should shoot for. At the same time, I think that we should begin quarterly reviews a little more in detail than we had last time, so that we know where we are and what our future is. And another item that I've suggested is that we rotate every 3 years. That's my suggestion. The audit firm that we use. Being in business, I experience audits often, and particularly my workers' comp audit. And actually, when I came on the council, I saw that we had the same auditor for a long time. And sometimes, I'm not suggesting any wrongdoings happening, but sometimes we're too friendly, they're too friendly, they're actually too friendly with us, and they don't dig into what they should be doing to really check the numbers out. So I'm suggesting that we change audit firms. I'm not sure how complicated that is. I'm not sure if it requires a resolution. I'm not sure if the city manager and the director of finance can do it on their own. I'm only suggesting that we change auditors. And then that brings me to number 17, and that's part of the reason I think it's important that we get a hold of our finances and know where we are, where we're going to be with real hard, firm numbers. It was suggested at a previous meeting by our vice mayor that we consider building a new city hall. Now, right away, most citizens would say, well, don't spend the money. What we have is fine. And what we have is fine, but it could be better if we were all working closer together. Right now, you have the planning department across the hallway. I believe that it would serve the citizens better if we could just improve our city hall makeup. And that's why I'm suggesting that the vice mayor be in charge of the committee. I suggest that we probably should have another council member, and we should have people from the public for sure. And we all know that's not going to happen tomorrow as far as building the new building. So I would like my fellow council people and Mr. Mayor to consider these items. Thank you.
Okay, council members, starting with item number 14, I want to take it to the public. Is there any comments from the public? Item number 14. Any members on Zoom?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Bringing back item number 14 for consensus from left to right. Is that a yes or a no? Okay, we got yes, yes, no for me. Yes. Number 14 will be placed on a future agenda item. We'll figure out what day. Item number 15, going to the public. Seeing no one. Anybody on Zoom? City clerk? Okay, bring it back for consensus from item number 15. We have Daniel Martinez first on this item.
Mr. City Manager, how realistic and then how cost effective, or how much would it cost, I guess, not effective, would quarterly budget reviews be for city staff and for our finances?
It's going to take us some considerable amount of time for the finance department to put these together and present to the council. As I explained to Councilmember Casey, our budget's not like normal budgets. We run in the red all the way through until April, and we don't really see the light of day until the end of June. And so when we do these presentations, you're going to be seeing a lot of red ink because we're running the negative all the way for the first probably 7 to 8 months minimum.
Ms. Diaz, I have a question for you as well. Is your staff at a level where if this was passed, you'd be able to do this, or do you need additional staff to get this accomplished?
Fully staffed right now, so we would be able to accomplish any budget reviews, but as the city manager stated, it wouldn't look good for a while.
Do you have a
Quick comment about that. Mr. Casey, I would think you're not asking for a full, complete budget review quarterly, more of a couple, 3 pages or a summary of where we are as our projected budget is being spent and revenues are coming in for that quarter, and then for 2 quarters and then 3 quarters. Is that more what you're thinking? Because I've actually brought that up before as well. I would support it if we could do that without overburdening our finance department.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I think you're right on. We just need to get started, and the first time it happened, we might be completely satisfied, but we might also say, what about more detail here or there? At least give us a start to track where we are, because we have all these new businesses coming in, and I understand the revenue sales tax is behind. I mean, it doesn't happen same day we buy a hamburger at In-N-Out Burger. It takes time for the money to come to us. But as we grow, and especially as our needs grow and our financial obligation grows to to the service people that we have working for us, our police department. We need to really be on track of where we are. So yeah, it's not going to be a real detail probably the first time, maybe the first 2 years. But I think the finance department will be able to fine tune it to our needs. But yeah, thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor, for the question.
Rosalinda, you have your button pushed.
Just kind of chiming, I like the idea, I do. I just want to see if you think that maybe even like changes staffing, because we seem to have missed the water, at least I missed the water, the change in the, and maybe that 2 to 3 page could include just general overall major changes to funding, whether like Dollar Tree closed that affected our budget, obviously for the quarter that they've been closed. Just kind of major changes so that we can make sure we're on track and making the adjustments if we need to, just to make sure we're staying with what our agreed upon budget is. I'm fully supportive of what Jim Casey is recommending with the quarterly, just kind of 2, 3 page, like Savera had mentioned, review of where we are, what's changing, what hasn't changed, what we can be expecting maybe coming up. So we're kind of in line and kind of can gauge where we need to be and where we're at.
I have a quick question for the attorney. So on these two items, for example, 14 and 15, how realistic is number 14? And on 15, is that common practice for cities?
As to number 14, that's more of a staffing vendor issue with the auditor. So that's something that I'll defer to the city manager on, because typically there's a statutory and best practices timeframe associated with completing audits. And a lot of it is tied for federal funding. There's federal statutes that also apply to this. So the default generally is, as long as you're complying within the required time frame, you give staff and your auditor sufficient time to dig in as much as they need to. But again, that's more going to be a question for the auditor on whether they can complete it. On 15, whether it's best practices or how common it is, I think it really it's a policy question for the council, how often you want to see that. It sounds like what I'm hearing is there's additional things that the council would like to be apprised of a little bit more frequently than maybe just the summary of make the money's coming in and out. So my recommendation on 15 would be, because these are referral items to be placed on a future agenda for further discussion. My recommendation would be, if there's a consensus, to agendize this so that we can have a discussion with staff and the council to create a list of the things that you're looking for in these quarterly updates.
That is all. Any additional comments for number 15? I'm looking for consensus from left to right. Those a no, yes, no for me.
Yes.
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 Yes, the item moves forward for consent. I mean, for an agenda item. Number 16. Select a different audit firm every 3 years and have selected to complete the fiscal year 2023, 2024. Take this to the audience. Is there any comments on this item? Mr. Warren?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John Warren, City of Ceres. I believe changing audit firm every 3 years probably is in the best interest of the company and of the city. Sometimes companies or people become complacent. And if you are using someone for 10 or 12 years, maybe if a new company comes in, they will find something that has been overlooked, probably accidentally. So changing something like that and keeping a fresh set of fresh people who step in might be in the best interest of the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Is there anybody else? Any hands on Zoom?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, bring this back for consensus from the council, left to right. Oh, you have a question? Oh, I just noticed that we have, there's actually two. Can we get like a beeper system for this thing or something? Going to Ms. Rosalinda. No, you're good. And then we'll go to the city manager.
Okay. I just want to confirm, because when I'm looking online, that there's a government code that requires us to go every 6 years with a new vendor. Am I reading that correctly? Government Code 12410.6B. So I just want to confirm that we're still following within the calculating 6 consecutive fiscal years for local agencies. So I just want to make sure we're in compliance, and if that isn't the case, that we are being in compliance.
I believe that finance probably has a much faster response to that than I do. If not, we can look it up. But that wouldn't surprise me. There probably is already a
I thought
set
there was something
established- yes.
because of the downfall on the stock market a few years ago, that there was some implications about changing auditing firms to prevent another crisis. So I just want to make sure we're in compliance, and then if we need to firm it up a little bit more, make it a little more frequently, that we're still doing that.
So I believe it's every 6 years, the managing partner has to change. You can have the same firm, but the managing partner. We currently do have RFPs that we are reviewing for a new auditing firm to audit this current fiscal year.
Thank you. City Manager?
The finance director made my statement.
Okay, so she made the statement for you? Okay, perfect. Going back to consensus on left to right? Yes,
I'm more inclined to support what the state statute says we should do.
it's a no for me.
I'm curious to see what happens with the current update first. I think there's currently in the process of doing this already, so I don't want to duplicate what's already being done. So I think I would want to hold my vote out until we have a response back from the department.
Part of my problem is talking.
Turn your mic on.
That also, I guess, is part of the problem. Are you asking for my input again?
Consensus, sir. That means yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. So that was, you said yes, and I said, we two said no, and that makes it, you said you're not sure, you said you're opting out, is it yes or no? You abstain?
Abstain pending review.
So that's a no, that doesn't go through, okay. Item number 17, take this to the public. Is there anybody in the public that would like to make a comment on item number 17?
Dave Pettis, I realize you probably do need a new building, but where you plan on getting the monies for that? Let's talk about that first. You know, this building right here was built on money that the state gave to you. And Brown came around. Not only did he take back the monies that was not spent, but he also took back the money that was spent. And they've been digging, he's still digging out of the holes now, and the COVID came along and made it even worse. And so you're talking about big, and basically you're spending a lot of money that you're luckily you've been getting all these grants and stuff. So let's talk about where you're looking at getting the money for this project.
Sure, I'll answer that question. Absolutely, we can't start anything unless we have concrete financial arrangements. It's not going to put a burden on the citizens of Ceres any larger than they already have. That's why the committee is going to be formed. It's an idea that has been, talked about, but absolutely not would they begin a project. Part of the committee's purpose would be to search for grant money that's out there in the state and federal that has strings tied to it. And when John Warren wins the lotto, maybe he'll contribute a couple of $1 million to it. But absolutely not would we begin a project unless it was financially solid. And I think the vice mayor, he would act as a very prudent and a wise committee chairman. That's my answer to your question. It may not have answered it correctly.
I see how the
Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. An exploratory committee is the first step in establishing whether to go forward or not to go forward. I think Mr. Silvera would do a great job of chairing this committee. And if he does and it moves forward, I would be glad to serve on the committee as one of the citizens of the community. Exploring, finding, funding is the first step. And establishing where the building can even be constructed and finding the right property. So there's a lot of things to be considered in this type of investigation. And that's what a committee would do without bringing any cost to the city at the very beginning. Cost would come later. It's unfortunate that this particular building is in the situation that it's in, but that's a fact that we can't fix, and we just move forward and deal with it as we can. I understand Mr. Pratt's concerns. Funding is a big issue, especially with this year's budget. Having $101 million of expenditures, maybe only 81 or $87 million revenue. I don't understand how that is balanced, but I do understand that the city does operate in the red. Not quite sure how they pay their bills every month from all the different funds. And that is something that I don't have any answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to make a comment in the public? No hands are raised. I bring this back to council. I see Vice Mayor has pressed his button. Here you go, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor. Yeah, I brought this up 10 or 12 months ago because like any new idea and new plan, it has to start somewhere. I don't spend as much time in City Hall as some people probably do, but I know that our employees deserve better. I appreciate your support, Mr. Casey, Mr. Warren, whoever thinks that I would be a good option for chairing this committee. My recommendation would be for myself and the city manager to get together over the next few weeks, do some research. We're not the first one that's had to do this. Figure out how this committee would look. Get a pretty clear vision of what our intentions would be. Obviously, if we don't have money in the city, we're not going to use city money to build anything. So reaching out to all the available funding and revenue resources would be probably high priority. And that means that we probably need people on the committee or somebody on the committee with those strengths and that skill set. So my suggestion is I'd like to meet with the city manager soon and maybe bring this back the first weekend, the first meeting in July with a plan on what we think it could look like and how the city could benefit from it.
Well, Mr. Martinez, sorry about that. And actually Rosalinda first.
I think I just want to concur. I think that just creating exploratory committees is going to be where we start. I don't know if we have what it takes to move it forward, but I would like to see with the right people on the committee if we can actually make something happen. It's been there a very long time, and I know it does need some repair, but I'm definitely supportive of bringing this back onto the agenda about creating an exploratory committee just to explore if there are even options to move forward with any of this.
And Mr. Martinez.
Yes, I just wanted to agree with everybody else's sentiments that the vice mayor is a great option to chair this. That, we do definitely need to have him sit down with the city manager and get this committee started. I would just suggest that maybe we do add an additional council member to it as well. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you very much. I would like to make a comment. This would actually be a advisory committee, correct? Okay, and I just want to make sure that we are very specific on the tasks and the criteria that are being set forward. And to your point, having the right people on this committee is important. I would like to make sure that we have, for example, engineers, folks that actually know how to.
Yeah, that's, I think, why we can do, the city manager and I can do some research and see how these committees have been formed and who other cities have included for projects like this. And so we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, and we make sure that we do it the right way. This is not happening the day after tomorrow. So I think we have plenty of time to do the work and understand what it should look like, the committee should look like before we even talk about where, when, how, and how we're going to pay for it.
Yeah, if that is the case, I will also support this. Now, I don't know what the schedule is between vice mayor and the city manager, but
We'll
you guys-
figure it
you
out.
guys can figure that out, and then you guys can let us know when I need to put this on. the
Joys
agenda.
of retirement, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Let's see. Other than that, we'll move on to reports.
Mayor, it sounds like you have full support, but just to be consistent with the other agenda items, if you can.
I'll
confirm-
just look for consensus for left to right. We have 2 yeses. We have yeses, and then yes from me. Thank you, Nubia. Appreciate that.
Mayor,
good.
before you move on, I'd like to add an item to a future.
Yeah,
agenda.
absolutely. Let's not forget that we still have other council members who would like, go ahead, sir.
So I received an email from Ms. Ledbetter about the money that she and the chamber had received back in 2019 from the TOT tax that was returned. They would like to speak to us about getting that money back for their, let me see, I have it right here. Bands, brews, and barbecue throwdown that they used to do, went away because of COVID. I understand that the previous city manager and them had been talking about finding a way to get that funding, and communications have obviously ceased. So I'd like to put that on the agenda, allow the chamber and Renee to come and speak to us and see what we can do for that.
So this is specific to that.
To the,
event?
to the TOT money that they received in 2019, they did return it. That was for the bands, brews, and barbecue throwdown, and they would like to start doing that again, the chamber. So they'd like to speak to us about getting that back and seeing what we can do for them.
So how would that look? So we're talking about 2 different things?
I believe so, yes.
I have a comment on that. That's already, the previous council came up with a procedure for applying for TOT money from the community. That's already part of what we do. We just need to find it, get them involved with it again. There's a number of dollars of TOT money that is allotted for things like that. That's something that's already on the books. COVID, like anything else, changed everything. So we probably don't even have to do anything with this other than do some research and find out how that process is and then get the application to them.
Well, if that is the case, let me point to the city manager. Sir, is this something that, and maybe Nubia can answer it too, is this something that you can take care of without council approval, or is this something that you'll look into and then bring it back to the council?
Well, we were originally looking at bringing that back to council
You already had plans?
on next council meeting to talk about that.
Yeah, the process of applying for TOT money is already there.
Okay,
It's not something
Then
we
we'll-
have to approve again. If we want to change it, we always have the ability to change it, but it's already in our codes. We just need to address it. I actually looked at it with Alex because this came up about a year ago from a different organization. So we don't have to do any work on that.
okay.
Find
then
it,
We'll do some
make sure they
research.
have the information and have them apply for it.
And then that'll be on the next.
And Shane might be able to actually give a little bit of an information how that worked, because I just remembered he was directly involved with all of that. So if you don't mind, Shane,
Yeah, I
thank you.
address that, Shane Parson. Anyway, essentially, the city of Syracuse had a 5% TE tax. So personally, I put up the money to do the propaganda, to educate the people. We needed to increase that to 10%. And that flew through it. It had passed before, so we got that to 10%, which created more money into basically the general fund. At that point, we sat with the council and was going to take 20% of that money and give it out as grant. I was able to obtain a couple of those grants. We gave a City of Sirius saddle away at one of my events. I think the soccer people got some money. There was several, and they were about $4,800 grants. So when that was kind of established, actually the city got an additional, I guess you'd call it 30% in the TOT money that came in, and then 20% was given out in grants. There was a committee formed with a couple council members on it. There was 4 or 5 of us citizens that helped put that together. So I know it doesn't. go
Yeah,
up
it's
in the-
somewhere in our system. We just have to find it and start it back up again.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons.
Thanks, Shane.
You got that? All right, thank you very much. So we'll go with the consensus. We'll ask left to right. Yes, yes, yes. This is for the referral. Do you want to explain it again? So I guess they understand what you're referring to.
I don't believe I do need to make it a referral now since city manager said that it's already planned.
It's already planned.
It's already in the works on that. So
As a matter of fact, you are correct.
yes, it's already on the
Being
agenda,
said.
a future agenda.
Okay,
Ms. Dunford.
moving on to reports. Okay, hold on. Go ahead, ma'am.
So are we creating the committee that Shane just spoke about? Is that what we're talking?
No, we're,
I'm a little confused as to.
he was just giving us a historical update. The only thing that we're doing is city managers bringing this item back on the agenda.
Okay, because I just want to make sure we're consistent with all groups and not being consistent across the board.
Yeah,
If I may,
we
Mr.
can talk. Let's allow him some time to get some research and then we'll bring it back and then we can have a discussion. Okay. And I got it. Thank you very much. Now moving on to reports. I have no reports. City council members from left to right, any reports? Mr.
Yeah,
I'm District One,
Hold on one second.
Vice
Hold
Mayor.
hold on one second.
Vice Mayor,
Casey?
District One.
Casey, hold on one second. From left to right.
I want to compliment the Vice Mayor and his earnest effort to have our console in the park that starts tomorrow. And I also want to compliment the citizens that came forward tonight, but Vice Mayor, you're doing a good job. Thank you.
That was your introduction, actually. Vice Mayor, you're up.
way to go, Jim. Steal my thunder. So first week of concerts in the park tomorrow, 6:30 to 8:30. Our world famous Greg Scudder and his guys are going to be out there playing, sponsored by Sam's Cafe. There'll be food, beverages. The weather should be great. We backed it off a half an hour this year because of the weather, and then now our weather's cool. You know how that happens, cooler. But we're looking forward to it. It's going to be the next 6 Tuesdays minus July 4th. Amazing bands every week, amazing food options, drinks. So bring your chairs, bring your picnic if you want. Have a great time here at Whitmore Park. And what I just thought about it, Sam, thank you, and Joey. The Public Works on their own went through and made our gazebo much safer. We figured out in our last event, maybe it wasn't as safe as it needed to be. So they did a great job a couple of weeks ago and redoing all the bracing underneath the flooring. And so it's ready to go. We're ready to have a great series of concerts in the park for the next 7 weeks.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Mr. Martinez. I know that we won't be back next Monday. So like he said, we have, who's coming on tomorrow? Greg Scudder.
Greg Scudder and the Honky Tonk Heroes.
Yeah, and then June 20th is going to be Los Reales del Norte. And I'm sure by the time we come back for the next city council meeting, we'll tell everybody else who's up next.
There are signs all over town that we put up, and thank you again to Public Works. Their guy Rich and I went out and put them up. Great guy. We're lucky to have staff members like that that were so willing to do whatever it took. So we had a great time putting those signs up.
Martinez.
And so tomorrow, before concerts in the park, if you want to swing by CYB, Sirius Youth Baseball will be doing their closing ceremonies for the baseball season. It was a very successful season, a lot of ups and downs from my team, but we ended up doing pretty decent. And then I wanted to congratulate Mr. Casey. Both teams that you sponsored ended up taking first place in their age division. So congratulations, Mr. Casey.
Awesome. Yes.
And that would be
Time?
5:30, no, I'm sorry, 6 p.m. So right before the concerts in the park starts.
Rosalinda.
Of course. Just kind of going over community series partnership had a family event going over their resources on June 2nd. They have a pending retirement of their longtime social worker, Charlie, on the end of the month on June 30th. At the convention, it was a great convention. We worked together. We kind of split up into 2 groups. There was way too many vendors, but we have some potential entertainment center and retail centers that we're currently already working with now. Several emails have gone back and forth. I'm also connected with the chamber to see if they can kind of incentivize a little bit for me. EDAC meeting I noticed was canceled. I wasn't sure if you'd gotten the email because and I don't know what city it was. It just said because all cities were not going to be represented at the meeting, they're canceling it because they need. So I wanted to make sure that wasn't us, that they were kind of indirectly kind of elbowing there. I do have my police ride along. Thank you, Perry, for meeting with me. I do need to get another fire, so I don't see them on the line. So I will be reaching out to Spanny soon. And the pop-ups I noticed that came up, and I'll just bring it up since I have the time. A lot of them are on county pockets, the ones that they were talking about, like on the current corner of Service and said, is there anything that we could even do on county pockets? Versus code enforcement that can handle our sidewalks, but the ones that are in the dirt lots that are county pockets, is it a matter of calling the county and hoping the sheriff will eventually show up before? And the last thing, the Canadian geese, I know they're protected through the Migratory Board Prevention Act of 1994 and the U.S. Bird and Fish Service. Is there anything that we can address that? Because I know it's kind of out of control. Can we follow what Turlock is doing, or is that something that maybe we can even address, since I know they are a protected species? But I do know like they jump on the apartments over in Turlock and stuff and create havoc in the mornings. And I hate with that new AM PM going up, that becoming an issue there in that area. But I don't want to bring that up. And then I think I have one more thing. I think that was it. Thank you.
Council member, anything that's a referral or questions that you want to get asked? I mean, I would most definitely talk to city manager afterwards, specifically for reports. I don't want there to be a expectation and you don't get an answer, and being that we're talking about reports, but for the case, like for the fact that she asked, I think it'd be a good idea if you look into that. Thank you. And do we have any information from the departments? All right.
Mayor, Kevin Waugh, Director of Engineering Services, like to inform everybody that we started phase 2 on Morrow Village today. That we'd like to have everybody take caution when they're traveling on Rose Avenue.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? I did not see anybody from our supervisor's office or anyone else. That being said, there's no reports from city managers. Don't want to be sure. Okay. And I already asked. This meeting is now adjourned. God bless everyone. Have a great day.